As far as injuries are concerned for today, Rob Havenstein and Davante Adams didn't participate yesterday. They'll be limited today. They'll be questionable. Feel good about them being able to go. These guys are veterans that have accumulated a lot of experience, and so looking forward to them doing what we kind of project and feeling good about being ready to roll on Sunday. Steve will be full. Justin Dedich will be full. Colby Parkinson will be limited, but he'll be in good shape. And then guys that will kind of have veteran rest days will be Higbee. Puka's gotten a big workload, so we'll rest him today, but he'll be in good shape. And then Alaric, the consistent thing that we've talked about, he's done an amazing job. So other than that, should be good.
We saw Higbee show up on the injury report with the hip yesterday.
Yeah. He got through practice, ended up having just a little bit of soreness. He's good. It checked out. Everything feels good. So we've been giving him Fridays off. Last week was a little bit of an exception for some, tactical reasons, and so he'll be good.
How concerned are you about Davante, especially with the short turnaround after this? I know you're only on this game, but
sure.
With the short turnaround for Thursday.
You know what? I think that we're managing, obviously you'd like him to feel as good as possible, but I trust, he's got such a good understanding of his body. And so, being the first year that we're working together, I think he's one of those guys that he does such a great job in the walkthrough, staying engaged. And if it's going to be best for him to feel at his best on Sunday, it's absolutely the right approach. Now, in an ideal world, are you able to get, practice reps and continue to improve on some of those things? Of course. But, we always have to be able to manage, what we think is the right thing based on the circumstances, and these are the circumstances that we're dealt.
With Davante, is there a possibility of him on a pitch count on Sunday?
I don't know about that. I think, you might monitor some things, but if I told him that, I think he would say, no, I ain't doing that. So, he's got good spirits. He's been engaged in the walkthroughs. He's doing everything that he can to be, as physically and mentally ready to go. And, that's why he's a total stud. So excited about that. But, we'll see how the game goes. Ultimately, we got to be able to do what we think is best for Davante and for our team. Those things go hand in hand for us. So if that changes any of the snap count, that's not something that we're expecting, but we'll see.
Coach, when you think about this, though, these are things that all the teams go through.
That's right.
So you all end up on the same level.
Yeah, there's no question. And we've seen, injuries are a part of it, or navigating, the typical bumps and bruises. And so you ideally want to be able to get as much practice time as possible, but those guys being available to be able to go play is the most important thing. And so, we're relatively healthy, all things considered. We've got some veterans that have accumulated a lot of wear and tear, that they understand their bodies. And, because of the experiences that they've had, you at least feel a little bit better about that. But these are things, like you said, everybody's got to deal with. We've certainly felt that in previous years, and nobody cares, right? You just got to be ready to go. Steve's looked good. I've been pleased with Steve. I think he's done a great job of being able to attack his rehab, Stu, and he's taking steps in the right direction. I've been proud of Steve.
With Steve on his way back and Rob questionable, what have you guys learned about managing moving parts on an offensive line week to week over the last
Yeah, you better have depth. I mean, when you look at it, you've seen, and being in year 9, you just look at it. You better have about 8 to 10 guys that you feel really good about, because, you have some of those fortunate years where only maybe 5 or 6 play, but man, that is such an outlier. If you just look around the league, you better feel good about it. Like I've told you guys before, we feel like we've got 10 NFL offensive linemen on our roster, a lot of guys that have played meaningful football that can kind of move around. You obviously always want your, the rapport and the routine that these guys, especially those 5, and how important it is for that group to be connected matters. But, we've seen, these guys have to be ready to step up in multiple different spots. And, fortunately, I think guys have been able to do that thus far. And, that's always going to be a critical factor, because that is so vital to our success offensively and for our football team. I think Ryan Wendell and Zach Cromer and Brian Allen, and, have done such a good job with that group, but we've already seen the importance of it.
Not with Matthew specifically, but quarterbacks who wear the play sheet on their wrists, what's your general philosophy about that, especially as a play caller?
I think it's just totally predicated on what I appreciate about that is it can be incredibly efficient. Now, what Matthew does is he doesn't need that play sheet on his wrist, because he's got it right here. So he likes to be able to memorize things. I've seen it's a very prevalent theme, especially with some of the situational calls where maybe they can be a little bit wordier, or you're calling a couple plays. I would always defer to what's the most comfortable thing for the quarterback. And so I don't think there's a right or wrong. It's always about the players. And if I was with a quarterback that said, hey, I would prefer to have it where it's a play sheet and I'm saying left hash 11 instead of, calling a play, then that's exactly what we would do. But I totally can understand, some of the efficiencies, but we basically have a play sheet on his wrist because as soon as he hears the beginning of some of these calls, he's like, all right, I got it. And it ends up being kind of the same thing just because that's what he likes to do.
After the 3 blocked kicks in 2 weeks, is that a unit you feel like you've had to take a closer look at this week, or have you kind of...
What would you guess? Absolutely. Unfortunately, hey, we got to lean in, because those have been costly. And I like the only thing that we can do is the next right thing. And let's learn from it. Let's acknowledge it. Let's see where the areas of improvement need to take place. And then ultimately, seen is better than said. And so that has been a big point of emphasis. And it's going to be something that, you can't go backwards, only forwards. And that because of what those things have entailed, there's going to be an intentionality on their field goal block operation to try to, continue to have success, for us not to do what we want to be able to do. And I'm excited about, seeing how we handle it this week. I like the way the guys have approached it, and I'm, looking forward to it.
So far, what's the biggest difference between this team and the other round teams that you have covered?
I mean, every team's different. I love this group. I think we're a mentally and physically tough football team. I think it's going to carry us well. I think that's where you have to be careful of not being so outside in. I want to be more inside out because, that game comes down to one play. There was a lot of things that led to us being 2-1 instead of being 3-0. But what I like is the steadiness of this team. I see a team that we're trying to be able to be competitively, have the competitive stamina that's required. I love this group. I think it's a great collection of people that are mentally and physically tough, but they have their own individual personalities, but we still have the same values that we all subscribe to that make up the collective. And so every year, it's about a journey. We're continuing to grow. I love this team. I love the individual people because that's always what it's about. It always has been, always will be. And when you got the right kinds of people, how do we continue to come together? How do we lean in when we go through some challenging things? And it's what I've seen from this group for, through 3 weeks. And it's about how we continue to improve. And, week 4 presents another opportunity for us to do that against the Colts.
Second question. J.J. Redick mentioned your name several times in his press conference yesterday about the interaction between you two. How important is it as a young coach to talk to another young coach?
Oh, man. I think just in general, the more that you can learn. What I love about JJ is I've always respected him. And so, one of the cool things about being in this role is the platform it provides to be able to meet special people, to share, to really try to be able to understand because they might be, different sports, but there's a similar arena. There's similar things that, you have to be able to go through in terms of, all right, what do you want to be about? How do you navigate some of the tough times? How do you have some of those challenging conversations? Or how do you stay humble in the midst of some successful things that can occur? And I couldn't be more impressed with him. Really happy for him to be able to, get that extension. And, I'm always rooting for those guys.
Just to go back to Steve for just a second, with him being full today, do you expect him to be available Sunday, or is it a situation where...
Yeah, we'll see how today goes.
Okay, like pregame workout or anything like that?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I think we'll see how today goes, but I've been pleased with Steve.
Gary mentioned the quick turnaround, and you've got a lot of road games too. Is that factored in at all to some of the rest days, or how you manage that?
Not really, because I think we want to be totally and completely present. Certainly in the background, there might be some different things that we're doing, but I want our players to feel, as normal as possible. The only difference is what we'll do is, we'll start that, recovery process right after the game, which has been consistent with what we've done after our Sunday games when we're playing on a Thursday. And so, hey, let's be present. You start looking ahead and you'll be humbled real quick. So we can't afford to overlook anybody, especially a team that's playing as good as anybody in the NFL right now.
Have you ever had a practice where you didn't like what you saw? I mean, where you would talk about that public? Yeah, I mean, because you always say, I like what I'm seeing. I've liked what I've seen. Have you ever had a practice?
Course.
Okay.
Would I tell you that? I've never said I didn't like how we practice. Go to the training camp stuff, you liar.
But what would be those kinds of things just in terms of the competitiveness?
Here's what doesn't happen with this group. Okay, the things we can control: our energy, our effort, our communication, the consistency of are we straining? That's what I love about this group. We've got high character people that do the right thing. Now, the overall execution, the sustained execution, those are always things, whether it's techniques, fundamentals, the enemy has a say, different things like that, or whether we can, put our guys in better situations. And so we're always looking to be able to find those edges. But the things that we can't control, from being around our guys, Gary, we have such high character guys that love the game. Very rarely, and I don't take that for granted, do I ever have to, coach the intangibles. Now, we lean into it, we praise it, make sure we understand the importance of that. Now, as far as the execution's concerned, I'm not going to get too granular in these types of settings, for a lot of reasons that I think you can appreciate. But that's been a good positive thing. But in terms of the overall execution or what we're trying to get done to move forward, there's certainly times. But I've loved the way that this group has practiced, and I think we're putting ourselves in positions to take steps forward. And I think that's been reflected in the games, and I'm hopeful that'll be the case this week.
It's good. It's good. We just working through it, just treating it, making sure we be smart. That way we don't have any issues. Obviously having this game and then short week next week, wanting to just be smart about how we move. Obviously, it's just paying attention to it more than anything.
Was there a moment where you injured it, or just something?
No, it's just been just something I've been kind of feeling lately. But it wasn't like a moment or anything. It's just kind of a feeling that you have. Sometimes after a game, you can't even really pinpoint when it happened or what exactly. It wasn't like an event, but it's just a lot of wear and tear, and obviously getting through camp. You see it around the league. It's a pretty common thing that happens, but we being smart with the team here, coaches obviously working with me. So yeah, we're gonna be all right.
What is 2 days off practice? Have you felt the progress of that yet?
Yeah, I mean it's getting better every day. It's something that I'm working through, and they're doing a good job of helping me treat it. But yeah, it's something that we're working through every day, and I'm noticing improvement.
What's been your experience through your career with these the Sunday to Thursday turnarounds, and how you manage your body and how it reacts to that kind of schedule?
Well, first you got to get through the first one, which is obviously Sunday. So I can't tell you exactly how Thursday will feel until you know how you feel coming out of that one. But obviously we got a good plan as far as recovery and how they do things around here, getting some massages and some things handled, following the game, and just getting on top of that to kind of speed the recovery up. But yeah, it's not. I don't think anybody loves playing on a short week, but if you come out healthy and you have a good game and teams rolling, obviously it can help with momentum, continuing on playing and getting back out on the grass. Either way, it's always fun to be able to play more football, but being 12 years in, I would rather have a full week.
I'd like you to talk about, if you can, from a mental standpoint, the mental aspect of this game when you play on such short notice.
Yeah, you talking about for the next week? I mean, it's obviously the preparation is going to be minimized a little bit naturally, just not having as many days. But there's different ways. A lot of time, I mean, not that the prep is done, but you've put in a lot of the work, by the fourth day of the week or whatever, however many days anyway. So there's ways you can kind of make one day into two or, however you want to do. But for me, it hasn't really affected my prep. It's more about just physical, I think.
Now that you've had some time to digest Sunday's game, what do you feel like you guys need to do better to execute better on your down?
I mean, it's just about just executing the play. I mean, I think we do a better job of coming down with, like the one in the end zone. Got to find a way to make those plays. And I don't think anybody's playing, bad football, but I think we can, from where we are right now, I love where we are, and I don't think anybody's playing their best ball yet. So it shows a lot of promise of what we can do moving forward.
Your reputation as a guy who has the ability to separate on that touchdown catch seemed like you demonstrated that. Mm-hmm. Is that kind of move something that comes with experience and ability to create some space?
Yeah, I mean, it's a little sneaky play in there. I mean, that's kind of how the game goes. I feel like that's maybe why they let AJ slide later. But yeah, I think mine was a little sneakier than that. But yeah, I mean, it's just part of what you learn, little things, and obviously trying to keep distance. I don't think it's a difference when you're extending and they see you truly pushing versus kind of keeping your space and then retracting. And it's usually pretty glaring just based off of how the defender or offensive guy, if it's the other way around, kind of responds. But yeah, just a couple things you learn over tricks of the trade.
Charvarius Ward's traditionally a guy who travels with the top outside receiver. Just what are your impressions of his game and the challenge he brings?
Yeah, he's a good corner. He's been playing for a while now, and he's played in some good defenses as well. So anytime you are surrounded by a bunch of guys that know what they're doing and they bring something special to the defense, kind of naturally makes you raise your awareness and your just your task in general. So I've seen him. I've played him a decent amount of times now, and had different times. Played him 22 when he was with the Niners, 21 I think when he was with the Chiefs. So we got a few head-to-heads, and we'll see what happens.